Welcome to At Home today. We're so glad you could join us. It's always great when you drop by. Home is just not the same when all the family isn't together, you know? So that's why we're always happy when you come by. I was just reading some of the scripture. Let me tell you, early in the year, you know, any time of the year, it's a great time to start reading God's Word. If it's just for 15 minutes a day, if you're sitting in traffic somewhere, you're waiting at the dentist's office or whatever, have a little New Testament with you and just pick it up and start to read some of what God's Word has to say for you today. I happened to be reading in Psalms 43, and this was a verse the Lord really made plain to me when I was like in my early 20s. Going through a rough time in my life. You say, Arlene, you have a rough time? Yeah, you better believe it. We all do. But it's what we do in those rough times that makes the difference in our lives. And this verse in Psalm 43, verse 5 says, "Why art thou cast down, O my soul? And why art thou disquieted within me? Hope thou in God. For I shall yet praise him who is the health of my countenance and my God." What a word of assurance. If you're sitting there today and you feel very cast down, you feel like there's no hope. What can I do? Where can I turn? Who can help me? I feel like there's just walls all around me and there's nobody to help me. Guess what? The Lord said he will help you. He will be there for you. He will be that ever-present help in a time of trouble. And so I want you to think about that and remember when you don't know which way to turn, best way is just kind of look up. He will always be there for you. Well, today on the program, we're making soups because the day that we're doing this program, it is bitter cold. Everybody in the studio is freezing and we're all doing like some bears in the Antarctica somewhere. And so we're doing 3 different kinds of soup that are so easy to make, you're going to love it. We'll be right back after the hint to start with cauliflower soup. Here's today's at-home hint. When cooking cauliflower, add 1/2 teaspoon of sugar to the water, and it will help to keep the cauliflower white.
If you have an at-home hint, a favorite recipe, or just a friendly greeting you'd like to share, we'd like to hear from you. Post it in the comments of this video or visit our Facebook page.
Welcome to At Home if you're just joining us, because today we're making 3 kinds of soups. Cold blistery, this is great. This is the stuff like my mother used to say would warm up your innards when it was a cold day. And the winter time is a great time. Of course, soup's good anytime, but these we thought you would enjoy doing because they're quick and easy. The first one, which is the cucumber soup, I just have some carrots, some celery, and some onion in there, and a little bit of butter. And what we've done there is just kind of let it cook. The smell is incredible when those carrots render the sweetness. Oh, boy. Now all we're going to do, we're going to add everything else to it because it's not hard. We have about, let's see, 1/2 cup of water. That goes in. And then we're going to add, this is equal to either 1 large can or equal to 2 smaller cans of cream of chicken soup, okay? Just put that in there. Now this is going to be a creamy soup. I tell you, there's so many versatile things that you can do with cream of chicken soups or whatever. Did I call it cucumber soup? I'm so sorry. Cucumber? Okay, let's try cauliflower maybe. That'd be better. Sorry about that. Well, you know, when it's cold, your brain gets frozen. Sometimes you can't remember if it's summer, winter, or whatever. You're too cold. We were ready to crawl in the oven here a little bit ago. We were all so blooming cold. But anyway. Okay, now we're going to mix that around. That's all going to incorporate. You want to have your heat up a little bit so that it gets going pretty good. And let's see what else we're going to add. We're going to add some milk because there's just a little bit of water there. This would be 2 cups of milk, just like that. And we're going to add some corn, small can of whole kernel corn. Just put the juice in all. That just adds flavor. All right. And then this comes up to a boil. We have taken, now you could use frozen cauliflower or you could use the fresh, and we've chosen to use the fresh today. And if you do, you want to blanch it just for a couple of minutes. And that would be 3 minutes in boiling water and bring it out and stop the cooking process. We don't want this to fall apart. We want it to be just nice and tender. But this isn't going to cook as long in the soup, so you want to cook it beforehand, because if you cook it in the soup and it gets boiling, it'll all break apart. We don't want that. So this needs to come up to a boil, which I'm going to adjust this heat. Make sure we got it on high. Once it comes to a boil, we'll add these, and then we'll turn it down, let it simmer for just like 10 minutes. And then we're going to put it in the bowls and put a little bit of cheddar cheese on top. Easy, quick, something great for you get home late from work and you're thinking, what am I going to make? This is a great soup for a quick supper, okay? That's the first one. I'm going to keep an eye on this and start on the second one. When it boils, then we'll add the cauliflower, okay? Now, the second one starts very similar, and I think that these vegetables are just a really good base for any kind of a soup. When you have celery, carrots, and onion, and a little bit of butter, and don't put them in raw, put them in the butter and let that flavor come out, because it kind of bursts the flavor out so it doesn't taste boiled all the time. All right, now, let me get the fire going under this one. And the tomato soup, which I happen to really like, this is just doesn't make a whole lot, just makes it like enough for 4 people. And we're going to add, after this comes and cooks, about 5 to 8 minutes, and this will get done. Then we're going to add a large can of the tomatoes. And these could be diced or they could be whole, and you could squish them with your hand or whatever. And then let's do some chicken broth. Good old chicken broth. If you make your own, great. If you don't, this is great. Okay. And secret ingredient, 2 teaspoons of sugar, just to sweeten it up, just a little bit, not much. Let's see, and we're going to put some Italian seasoning. You say, well, I don't have that in my tomato soup. This is a little different. And again, it's to taste. I think we call for a half of a teaspoon. Now remember, when you use the dried herbs, you want to crush them between your fingers because that awakens. See, Mike, you took it right out of my mouth. I was just going to say that, and Mike said it for me. It does awaken those herbs, all right? And some salt. Do a little salt here. Remember, there's salt in the tomatoes, so you don't want to go overboard. And we'll do some pepper. Not too much of that. Let's see, what else do we have? Salt, pepper, and some water. Make sure we get this all in here because this looks like a lot of ingredients, but it really isn't. And the rest is for garnish. Now, this is going to come to a boil. And the neat thing about this, it will cook for about 10 minutes. We'll remove it from the heat. And I would suggest you let it cool if you have the pleasure of having a little time. Then you're going to take half of this mixture and put it in a blender, and you're going to puree it because you want that real smooth tomato. You can do it all if you like it that way. But this will be, the texture will be a little bit of chunky and a little bit of smooth if you do half and half. And this with grilled cheese, did everybody in this studio have grilled cheese and tomato soup when they were kids? Absolutely. And that's what I think you would want to do with this. Just let it cook down. Delicious, and then you're going to garnish with some croutons and Parmesan cheese, okay? We're going to take a break. I'm going to stir up my cauliflower soup. Oh, look how nice it's getting. Time to put that cauliflower in there. And we'll be right back after the break. Stay with us.
Do you love watching At Home with Arlene Williams? Then be sure to check out our new YouTube channel. It's filled with classic episodes from over 20 years of At Home, and more videos are added each day. And don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode of At Home.
All right, we've got 3 soups we're cooking for you today. The first one, which is our cream of cucumber. She said that in my mind. Cream of cauliflower. Isn't that delicious? Look at that. Nice and creamy, and look how fast we made that. What, 10 minutes? And when it boils, it's done. And then we're going to add some cheese to it. And our tomato, it's getting ready here. It's going to come up to the boil 10 minutes. We'll put that in the blender and blend it a little bit to get the chunks out. We want a smoother type soup there. And the third one is chicken and dumpling we're going to make, okay? First of all, you're going to need a larger container for this, and one that has a good fitting lid. Because when we make the dumplings, you have to put the lid on and not peek for 10 minutes while they cook. So we have a little bit of oil in there, and we're just going to let me season this a little bit with some salt and pepper. You want to season the meat before you cook it because that flavor then cooks into it. Sometimes people don't do that. They wait till they get to the table, and if the people are on a restricted diet, you have to do that. That's okay. But let's turn this down so we don't have chicken fingers without the breading. There we go. Now I'm just going to put all of these chicken. This is about 3/4 of a pound of chicken. And all we're going to do is make sure that that browns nice and evenly. You want to, if you cut them all in uniform pieces, don't have some larger pieces of chicken, some smaller, because the big ones will take longer to cook. And what you're doing here is trying to get this soup done quickly, so you don't want to have big pieces and little pieces. You want all the same size. So you want to keep that in mind. And it's just, all we did was put some on the bottom, some oil on the bottom of the pan, and we got it nice and hot. And then we're going to turn that up a little bit. There we are. Because you want a quick fry, like maybe 2 minutes or so, because this is going to cook in a broth. So, it's not like you're going to have raw chicken. We also want to be very careful with our hands after we've touched chicken too. Recently in the Pittsburgh area, we've had a scare with hepatitis, with some unfortunate things happening. So everybody's like on an alert. I know we are on a terror alert, but you're on an alert with your foods because there's just too much of this stuff. I don't think people are as cautious and clean about doing those things as they should be. So, I think if we learn that, we've learned a good lesson. All right, this is just browning nicely. Take a little look at our tomato soup still going on, and the cauliflower, yum. Now let me go over, while this is browning, let me go over the rest of the ingredients for this soup. Okay, we have fresh green beans, about a cup. We have some onions, some wedges of onion. Don't cut them real fine and pulverize them. We want them bigger pieces here. We have some chicken stock, julienne carrots. In a chicken soup, you want to see these vegetables. In the others, where you're using the vegetables as a base for the flavor, they're kind of cut very fine and they're like pulverized when they start to really incorporate with the soup because they've been cooked and cooked and cooked. So that's the difference here, okay? And then we have some flour. We have some marjoram. If you're not familiar with this, it's a little bit different spice. It has a different flavor. I think you'll like it. And then we're going to do our dumplings. And we have like a baking mix, like a Bisquick. We have some of that, some yellow cornmeal, and we have some milk, some cheese. So I think we're going to be there shortly, browning these off. Not a long, drawn-out process, but you do have to make sure that they have all browned. Okay? I don't know about you, but soup was a staple in our home. My dad loved soup. And if he didn't know what else to have, he'd say, well, let's have soup. And he didn't care if you opened a can of soup. Of course, he'd rather have the homemade. But if you didn't have the time, or if Mom was at a loss, maybe there was a church function going on and she had spent the day with some church people and didn't have time to cook or whatever, we didn't go out to eat a whole lot. But Mom kept stuff in the house that could be made into a meal very quickly so that she could put something on the table very fast. And it's funny how she could do that, because that's a gift thing. I could have all the stuff in the cupboard that you could think of, and if I didn't get an idea, I'd be saying, what am I going to fix? Paul, what can we fix? And then he would say, well, how about this? And I think, that doesn't sound good. But Mom, she'd just make it. All you have to do is give her an idea and she'd make it. So, I think we're there. These are all pretty much cooked. Again, you don't have to cook them for a long time because they're going to be continuing to cook, and that's good. We just want to make sure they get surface heat. All right, now, they've browned. Now I'm going to sprinkle the flour over top of this. In a sense, we're making kind of a roux, R-O-U-X. I tell you about that all the time. And what that is a thickening, a way to thicken it. And we're going to put just a little bit of marjoram in there. And again, that's a different flavor. Okay? Now, I'm going to stir this around because what this is doing, the flour is absorbing the fat in the bottom of the skillet, which was olive oil, all right? And when that happens, then you want that to brown a little bit, because that's going to make a nice thickening or nice gravy for your soup to cook your wonderful dumplings in. All right. Now I'm going to add my broth. This is 1 can, 14-ounce can of broth. And the vegetables, which are the carrots, some onions, and this is like a medium onion cut in wedges. Again, I said you don't want it to be so small. You know, if you don't like onion, don't put as much in. We'll put the green beans in. There we go. And now I'm going to stir this. And we're going to put some water because we need more broth. There we go. Let's see. We stir in all of those. Now we're going to bring this to a boil, and we're going to reduce the heat. We're going to let it simmer. While we're waiting for this to come to boil, I'm going to make the dumplings for you so you see how to do that. All right? First of all, get a little spoon here. Get the right one because you got to have the right tools. Okay? First of all, you take the Bisquick mix, like I told you. You put that into the bowl. And then the yellow cornmeal. You know, it's funny, we have a new supplier of our groceries, and it's Jordan Produce Company, and they have the full line of restaurant equipment. And I said, can I get some yellow cornmeal? And she said, oh, yeah. She said, we have it in a large size capacity. I said, well, how big a bag? She said, 50-pound bag of yellow cornmeal. I said, I think that's too big. I don't think we can use all that. But it was funny because apparently there's a lot of places out there that use yellow cornmeal to that extent. Not us. Okay, 1/4 of a cup of shredded cheese, cheddar, whatever kind you like. Monterey Jack would be fine, whatever you want to do. And some salt and pepper. A little bit of salt. And some pepper. Okay. And then we're going to add our milk. This is a 1/2 cup of milk. And you want to mix this around before you put the moisture to it, because once you add the milk, you're not going to blend and blend and blend until it's a smooth batter. It needs to be kind of on the chunky dry side. So we're going to add our 1/2 cup of milk, and then we're just going to stir, just like that. Just until it's moistened together. Just until it all comes together, kind of like a batter, but not really, it can't be smooth, okay? I think we're there. Now this is only going to make about 8 dumplings. And let me walk you through this because it's important for you to know. You want to make sure that all that's mixed in there well, but not overdone. When this comes up to the boil, this boils 10 minutes. Then you're going to take these and you're going to spoon them. Well, divide this in 8, if you can visualize that. You'll take it like this and and just on top of that broth. When you get the 8 on top, then you'll put the lid on and you'll cook it for another 10 to 12 minutes because that dumpling has to cook through. Do not open the cover, take the cover off, look in there while they're cooking, or else they're not going to cook well, okay? And they will fall for you, they'll be flat, they won't be good. So we're going to take a break, tell you how you can get all of today's recipes, in fact, the whole month's worth, and then we're coming back to show you the final shot. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Just go to ctvn.org/athome to get all the recipes from today's show for free. That's right, no subscriptions. They're available online at no cost, and more are being added each day. So join us at ctvn.org/athome to get today's recipes now.
Well, I hope that you were able to be with us while we prepare these wonderful soups today. Soups that warm your innards, gives you a nice warm feeling. First of all, we did our cream of cauliflower. Look at this soup. Just with corn in there, I tell you, this is a winner. Your family will really, really like that one. We used to add a little bit of sourdough bread with it. You don't have to, you can add crackers, whatever. Next to it, please allow me to serve you. Look at this dumpling. Oh my. Okay, everybody pull their tongues back into their mouth. It's not nice to stand around drooling. And the soup is down under there. It's kind of, the way this cooks, it gets thick because of the thickening agent, because of the dumplings. So it's almost like a chicken stew. But oh my, is it good. Delicious flavor. You're gonna wanna try that one. And next to it, this is our tomato. And we put it into the blender and we pureed it so it'll be nice and smooth. I think this one you're gonna like because look at the consistency here. See how creamy that is? And of course, you had to have the grilled cheese right next to it. You can't have tomato soup without that. Just add a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, a few croutons. There is soups fit for anybody that has a hunger and is like a little bit cold. And you know, when somebody's not feeling well, which everybody's worried about the flu season anyway, why not make a pot of soup? And why not make enough that you can take a little bowl to the neighbor? And you know, at times like this when it's cold and we have elderly people around us, think double and take a jar to the neighbor. They'll really appreciate it. Like we appreciate you. And I hope you'll think about not being cast down. The Lord is there for you. He will never leave you or forsake you. So until it's time to join us the next time, we'll see you on Here at Home. Lord bless you. Bye-bye.
Furnishings provided by Levin Furniture, featuring Lane's Country Living Collection. Food provided by Jordan Banana Company, wholesalers of fresh fruit and vegetables in Trevosburg, Pennsylvania.
Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you'll never miss another episode of At Home. Thank you for watching.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.